talking games.
If you haven't already done so, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Thanks. Morning guys, how's it going? So I had people request that I do a review of the noise level of the card, the RTX 3090 413 Ultra from EVGA, and also test the temperatures under load. So right now I just have it on auto, and so it's just idling basically at about 1,000 RPMs per fan. The microphone in here is like 5 feet away from the PC, so I don't know how well you can hear it or not, but basically the noise you're probably hearing in the background, if you hear anything, is the case fans. And like, it doesn't really get louder than the case fans unless I go to like 80% or more. So like if I jumped up to here to like 75, you can kind of hear it, but it's really marginal. It just blends in with the case fans. Now if I jumped up to like 85, okay, now it might be more noticeable. I'm going to try moving the mic here. Hold on. Alright, so at 100 I suspect you can hear that pretty well. That's with the case open as well. I have the side panel off because I'm constantly putting things in and out of my computer, so I often don't even close the side panel on it. But you can tell that would be at least somewhat more muffled if I were to shut the side panel. So going back to auto, you can hear it drop off. It's still a noisy PC, but I have a lot of case fans in there. I have that Threadripper CPU in there, and that gets pretty hot without really good airflow. Even with the water cooler on it, I don't know, I have a lot of fans in there. I had an air cooler on it for a while, so I had more fans than are probably necessary now that I have it water cooled, but it's just, the fans are pretty noisy. And the case fans are set on like the basic fan, speed. They're not set on like performance mode or like a high RPM mode or anything. They're just running at their normal speed. So it's just a lot of large Noctua fans that make a fair amount of noise. But the card is idling. The temperature in my condo right now is 71 degrees, so that's a baseline temperature. That's a pretty good temperature to work at. I'm not running my AC right now. I'm not running heat or anything right now. This is a good time of year to test things like this where it's not too hot or too cold in your apartment or your condo or wherever you live. So the card's idling in the high 30s. If I set it manually, okay, so now it's at like 40 at a fairly low RPM. I usually tend to leave my cards between 65 to 75% all the time. Now, I can't even hear a difference in the noise, but the fans have pretty much doubled in RPM from about 1,000 to about 2,000, and the card will get back down to the point where it idles at like, I want to say around 35 or 36, and then when I get under load, maybe it gets to like the high 60s to maybe 70 tops, which is perfectly fine. See, it's dropping a little bit. But I'll go back to auto, because I know a lot of people like to leave it on auto because they like it to be as quiet as possible, and if you don't have the kind of case fans that I do, I can understand where you would experience less noise, if your case is already quiet and you want the card to also be quiet. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to load up a game and let it run for a while, and we'll see like how far the fans get. Let's see if I can, well, I've got an OSD running, so we'll see how high the RPMs get with the fans, how much noise it starts going to, like do they get to 100% or will they stop at like a certain. Let me see what the RPMs are at 100%, so we can kind of have a gauge. So at 75%, they were about 2,000 RPMs. So at 100%, we can see they're getting to about 3,000 RPMs, and they get pretty loud. Actually, I'm getting a little bit of a rattle. I don't know if that's the case or if it's the card or something. It was brief, but there was like a little buzzing noise for a second there. Alright, I'll go back to auto. But so 3,000 like 1,000 RPMs on auto, 75% seems to get us to about 2,000 RPMs, and if we max it out, we get to about 3,000 RPMs in the fan, or fans rather. So, alright, next up, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll load up a game or a benchmark or something and just let it run for a while. Something that should tax the card pretty well, and we'll see if we get any kind of if we can see how loud it gets, see what the temperatures get to with the auto fan curve, and then maybe I'll do a comparison to like if I manually set it to like 70 to 75 where I usually have it, if that's better or worse, I guess. So let's do that. Give me 1 second, we'll load something up. Alright, so you can see that the temperature never got above 66 degrees, and I let it run for quite a while, actually like 35-40 minutes or something by the end of the final clip, and it still didn't get above 66 degrees. It was drawing about 371 watts, and the core clock kind of seemed to hang around the low to mid 1900 megahertz range. The fans, since they never got past I think it was around 2,000 RPMs. That means that we were getting into the maybe 65 to 70% range. And with my case and the way my fans work, I couldn't hear the card ever kick up because my case fans are louder than the card is. Again, your situation may vary if you have less case fans or a quieter case or quieter fans or however it is that you're running them at lower RPMs or whatever it might be. Your mileage may vary, but in my case, like I say, I use a lot of Noctua fans because I have a lot of high wattage stuff in there. I need to keep it as cool as possible, and they do tend to make a fair amount of noise. And I even have the case open. If I put the case side panel on it, I doubt I could hear the GPU at all. Even, you'd have to crank it up to 100%, and even then it'd be quite quiet I'm about 5 feet away from it. So hopefully that's been useful information for people who are interested in knowing about the different temperatures and then the different noise levels that this card puts out. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. Also, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a thumbs up and just leaving a comment, whether it's a positive or a negative. If you have questions or if you want to leave a critique on how I can do a better job in the future, that would be fine, and that will help me improve the channel going forward. So I appreciate everybody watching. We'll see you guys again soon in the near future, and have a good weekend. Later.